we're doing, everyone. Welcome to Movie Madness with Maka. For this movie review, we're going to be checking out A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, this movie was unfortunately delayed because of everything that's been going on in the world. I think it was due out at least a year ago, back in 2020. But hey-ho, I truly believe that the wait was worth it. This film was just amazingly made. I mean, I remember seeing the first one, and this is one of the few horror films that can actually match up to its predecessor. I think one of the best things this film had going for it, which was fairly similar to the first one, was the sound design. Given that one of the main protagonists, the child, or the daughter, should I say, of Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's character, is deaf. Anyone that's seen the films will already know that, obviously. But they use some very fantastic shots and sound design to give us indications of life from her perspective, both in generalized scenes and in key moments, areas that they use this sound design in order to assist with, say, jump scares and things like that, and the perspective of the monsters nearby. Because it's a very interesting contrast, because the monsters can't see and use sound to identify people's locations. Whereas she can see, but she can't hear. She has one of those, is it a cochlear implant? I don't know how you phrase it. But she has one of those, and she uses it extremely effectively in helping to save her family, as well as using it as a way to fight these monsters. And literally, monster is all we get as a title for these killer alien thingamajiggies. We get to see Cillian Murphy, I'm pretty sure that's the actor's name, I get confused sometimes. Cillian Murphy in this one, absolutely stellar. In the trailers, when I saw him, he looked to me to be a villain. And maybe this might be a spoiler alert, I'll put the usual thing in the title. But yeah, he came across as quite a villainous character in some of the trailers for me. And he is absolutely nothing like that, from my perspective at least, in the actual movie. He gives a hell of a strong performance. He basically, for me, gave the role of the replacement for John Krasinski's character. Now, he wasn't like an actual replacement, but in the sense that, obviously, unfortunately, John Krasinski's character died in the first film, and he's kind of like, when they come across him and he gives the family refuge in this film, over time, you know, with their comparative losses, you know, and their collective grieving, he becomes like a surrogate father figure in a sense that he keeps, due to things that happen, he ends up becoming like a protector to the daughter at one point. And just like any father, he does everything he can to keep her safe. But she proves how resourceful she actually is. So that for me made for a fantastic performance. Emily Blunt brings it as always. Like, she is just a stellar performer. The mama bear role very much in effect with her here. And I honestly had almost no complaints. The only complaint I would say is that sometimes, because this film follows on and we know that she stood on a nail that went through her foot in the last one, there are times where it's like, does she forget that she's got that injury? But this isn't a criticism on her, because the times where it seems like that injury is non-existent, I think was more of the character's adrenaline was pumping so hard that it's kind of like, you know, a pain blocker. So that could be an explanation for that. But she gives an absolutely stellar performance as a continuation to the first film. She is strong as hell. She is resourceful as hell in this one. Like, she knows what she's doing, because at the start of the film, after we get a little origin thing, you know, to show when this all started, the first landing of the aliens and whatnot, we jump forward to find out that this continuation of the film is like 472, I think, day 472, something like that. So it's quite far over, a year and a bit into this whole pandemic thing, whatever they're working with, whatever you want to call it. And it shows that in that time she's become, well, the whole family, but especially her, have become extremely resourceful and know just what the hell they're doing. They're very vigilant. Like, you can feel in this one, now that we have a sense of what we're working with, you can see just how prepared the characters are and just how vulnerable, I'd say as well, vulnerable the characters are in a sense. Because whilst they are gaining strengths, we've gotten to a point where the aliens, even though we don't know how many of them are, we know there are a fair few, they've gotten to that point of power where the numbers of humans left are dwindling, and it's starting to take the psychological effect, because some humans have become monsters themselves in a sense. Not literally, but in a sense. And you start to see the psychological effects of how the isolation of everything takes effect and how everybody's reacting. And just generally, I don't know, just generally what kind of fuckery we're working with is probably the best way to phrase it. But overall, as a sequel and as a movie on its own, completely fantastic, absolutely stellar. All the performances from the kid actors, the baby cries on cue, that's all we really need. And thinking back through it, I have no real complaints actually to make with this film. I thought it was a stellar follow-up. It kept the suspense where necessary. The jump scares were perfectly placed. It wasn't just throwing jump scares in for the sake of it. It had a purpose, and it fulfilled them to perfection for me. So if I was to give this a letter grade, I'm going to have to give it an A. Would have been an A star. I think there may have been one or two potential opportunities for bigger scares, but otherwise, absolutely stellar. So I'm going to give it a solid A. Maybe an A minus, because I'm nice like that. But that was everything I had for you on this one, folks. If you've seen this film, let me know down below, because I look forward to hearing from other people. Let me know their experience, because I, for one, loved it. So until next time, folks, stay safe. Have a good day, night, evening, afternoon, or whatever the hell it is, wherever the hell you are. Movie Madness, Maka out.